So I'm just down here in the lower pond field, little acre paddock right below the pond. I just dropped the tractor off. I'm gonna do some chipping today. I'm sort of put the tractor halfway point, so right now I gotta walk back up for milking. I don't wanna have to walk the full distance, and I'll bring the skid steer down, move the tractor, move the skid steer. That way I'm not walking around the farm as much. I thought I'd walk back through this pasture. Now I did a grass walk on Friday. Today's Monday. Grass has grown. And I was just looking, because they say don't start grazing before you get 3 leaves on a plant. Well, I just looked at this little patch of, I think it's orchard grass. It might be meadow fescue. Anyway, it has 3 leaves, but it's barely 8 inches tall. Now, the trouble is we don't want those 3 leaves and the stem to get above to where a reproductive seed head forms. And there is, down on that plant within those 3 stems, there's going to be a seed nodule. Let's see if I can find one here. This is orchard grass. So we got 1 leaf, we got 2 leaves, we actually have 4 leaves, 3 leaves and 4 leaves. The leaf shooting up from the middle is the youngest shoot. This one is last season's, and then the stem. And somewhere in here, well, maybe not. This is a different kind of grass than ryegrass. That also, about in here, there'll be a reproductive seed beginning of one. So this plant is ready to graze because it's got the right number of leaves. But those plants that are ready only make up about 40% of this pasture. Everything else is lower. So I'm going to wait. It's also wet. I mean, we just had another inch of rain. But this paddock is drier than most. So I think I'm going to go ahead and overseed this week, and spread some seed on some of these other places where I'm not going to be disturbing anything, because there are some big bare patches in here. So I'm going to add more clover. I'm going to add some warm season annuals that will grow once the cows have grazed this off. And the idea is to spread the seed out by hand, just a small acre. It'll only take me a half hour or less. Just go around here, scatter some seed to fill in the voids, hoping it will grow. And the cows will come in here in a couple weeks and trample it in, and then we'll get a better warm season crop. I don't want to let this get too far behind, or rather too far ahead. So I don't think, I think this week I'll measure it again on Friday and we'll see where it's at. I may start grazing next weekend, because if we get too much of that, now is the time to grow grass, right? We've got water, we've got warmth, we're still cool enough. We're not above 80 degrees in any day. I don't think we've hit 70 yet. So the grass isn't going to stall out. It's going to keep growing. So the more I can clip it, the more I can get it into the cows, the more it will grow and the more it will stay vegetative. It's as soon as it sends up that seed head, as soon as the stalk starts to get too tall and lignify, that it becomes undigestible to the cows, and they'll refuse it and they'll leave it. And that's sort of the death spiral of a pasture, unless you clip it. And at the cost of diesel this year, and the possibility of being really wet for the next few months into June, all this month, May, and then into June, because it's only the 3rd of May today, 4th of May, may the 4th be with you, then clipping will become a problem. I won't be able to clip until the pastures go too dry, and then it's a point of, can you clip behind, unless you're clipping daily behind the cows as they graze, if you wait more than 3 days, then you could be destroying new growth. And so we're going to work really hard on the big field that's in full sunlight, and also a couple of these areas that are in full sunlight, to maintain at least like a 4-inch cover, so that it'll shade out the roots and less evaporation will happen. Because if the cows do graze it right down to the ground, which is ideal in a good year, in a normal year, you graze it right down, everything grows back the same. But the shorter they graze it, the more sun that it hits but you have to have enough leaf left to photosynthesize But also, in this case, I think we need enough leaf left to shade the roots and shade the ground so the soil doesn't heat up, so evaporation doesn't occur, so that whatever moisture is in the soil, whatever dew that falls from the temperature change that the grass collects every day and falls to the root zone throughout the summer, isn't hampered and doesn't dry out right away. I think that, and certainly if it isn't a drought year, like I'm expecting, preparing for a drought, doing these things won't hurt anything if we have an average rainfall year, or a heavy rainfall year becomes a whole different issue. But because what was it, 2-3 years ago, it rained right through to September. Grazing was difficult. Getting any kind of forage was difficult, and what we did harvest and what was fed to the cows was so low nutrition because the nutrients had basically just washed out. And the grass didn't grow well because it was too wet, because the roots were drowning. So too much water is as bad as not enough. And right now I think we're faced with either of those two extremes as a possibility. So I am so glad we have a little bit of forage ahead of us to buffer the results of the drought. And it's just going to be a trick. This is the second year. I don't think I necessarily managed it well last year, the drought. It took me by surprise. It shouldn't have. Maybe I was just too optimistic. Maybe I was just hoping for more rain than we had. But I think this year I can't be bit like that. Now, we did have a record milk yield last summer. Managed to make milk throughout it. We managed to get through it, but I did feed out all of my first cut silage, which is why I have this, which wasn't actually ideal because that higher quality silage was needed in the winter. So that's why I'm glad that we have the haylage from Thomaston to bring over, and then the 25 or so remaining bales that I bought, because that'll perfectly balance out the grass. We can reduce our grain bill, feed a little bit less grain because they'll be getting the nutrients from the grass and the roughage from the silage. So I think I know how to make it. It's just whether we can make it through a drought again in an optimal way, that is. So anyway, got to get set up for milking. Daisy is getting warm. My name is Neil Foley. My name is Neil Foley of East 40 Farm. We farm here with my wife. I farm here with my wife, Allison Lakin. I farm here with my wife, Allison Lakin, in Waldoboro, Maine. We farmed this piece for about 10 years. When we got here, there were no fences. And so we built a pretty elaborate 5-strand electric fence system around the perimeter. What we didn't do was put any fences on the interior because we wanted the flexibility to rotationally graze our cows anywhere. And we usually start in a loop, raise them around the farm multiple times, up to 5 or 6 times a season. But with the changing weather patterns and the prolonged periods of drought that we've experienced over the last 3 or 4 years, we're having to create more silvapasture down in the forest. And we're having to do split grazings where the cows graze in the open fields at night when they're much cooler during the summer, and then in the silvapasture during the daytime because the canopy of trees shade the cows. My name is Neil Foley from East 40 Farm in Waldoboro, Maine. I farm here with my wife, Allison Lakin, where we rotationally graze a small herd of Jersey cows. The milk from the cows goes into making Lakin's Gorgeous Cheese. We have been rotationally grazing the farm for 10 years now, but due to climate change, we're having to create more silvapasture area, and that silvapasture area needs more fencing so that we can do split grazing between morning and night. My name is Neil Foley of East 40 Farm in Waldoboro, Maine. I farm here with my wife, Allison Lakin, of Lakin's Gorgeous Cheese, and we rotationally graze a small herd of Jersey cows around the farm, and the milk from the cows goes into cheese. We're looking for some funds to help us fence out a pond and to create some better interdivisions we're looking for funds to help us fence cows out from our wildlife pond and to create some internal divisions between the external fencing so that we can better graze the cows in the Silvapasture during the heat of the summer, where we do split grazing, graze them in the big field at night and under shade during the day. So I've just been trying to film a video in 30 seconds or not to say why we need a $1,000 grant for a farm project, and I'm trying to make it about fencing. And tell you what, trying to give a concise, me, you know me, kissed the Blarney Stone when I was 20, itching my back on the skid steer, trying to give a concise 30-second video about why we need some extra funds to help fence isn't easy. I've already gone 30 seconds right now just talking to you here, and I was trying to say we need some money to help fence in the pond and to create some internal partitions so we can graze the Silvapasture during the heat of the summer. We'll see whether we get the funds. We see whether my video, which I'll insert here, actually gets any traction. Who knows? Well, I'm in the skid steer again. I just walked out to the couple acres we've been clearing. I had to grab chainsaw fuel. I am going to go chip in a different part of the forest because I need some easy chipping and low-hanging fruit to make up some time, because I desperately have to clean the barn again and I need more chip. And well, I've been getting the shavings from the tool factory to bed the cows and chip things. It's been so wet that I haven't actually done much of the forestry work I needed to get done. So we're gonna go chip a section of fence line to clear it right now so that I can at least be doing two things at once. I can be getting some chip to put down in the barn and get some of the new fence line cleared. I don't know where time goes. All of a sudden it's the 4th of May and I don't have fencing started. I don't have seed planted. I don't have that area out there cleared that I've been working on for seems like months. And we've had another inch plus almost, no, I guess it was 3/4 of an inch of rain yesterday, and everything is wet. The grass is growing, looks like it's kicking off. Dandelions are starting to appear, so it really is getting close to grazing, which means it's gonna get close to silage, and I haven't got my equipment ready. I'm still reeling after the thought of the loss of the grant. It's been too wet to consider spreading lime, so I haven't done that and motivated that project yet. And I got to get the gardens cleared and ready to plant, and we're getting ready for our summer season. So like every spring, everything kind of combines at once for a lot of pressure, very limited amount of time, and usually what fails is permanent fencing and pasture management. That always goes by the wayside. It's time consuming, and to get in here now soon with equipment like the tractor and auger to build fence posts, post holes, that's going to be, I'm going to be driving across forage that the cows could eat, or I'm going to have cows in my way, or we're soon getting to that point where everything is going to grind to a halt because I'm going to have to cut silage. And doing everything by myself, and there's some stuff I see I need to pick out, the hedgerow. Doing anything by myself just means it takes exponentially longer. So it's gonna be a busy summer, I think. Anyway, yeah, we'll get done as much as it can get done because got to. The fencing hasn't really been motivated because I've been dragging my heels ordering the material. It's that part of the spring where cash flow is always an issue, and so now that that's starting to turn around, it feels like having the flexibility. I didn't move that branch out of my way. All right, there's a branch up ahead I gotta clear. There's trees down here that I need to clear, as well as I just found the top of a tree blown down that I've got to clear before I can put cows in the field. But I'm gonna worry about that on my way out of here. Right now I want to clear the little fence line section, and also that'll help me get back to where I was just working in the forest on the other side, where a fence has to go. So basically I'm chipping, but again with the purpose of clearing fence lines. I think I'm just going to have to force myself to come down here during the summer to do some of the other work with the excavator, even when the cows are around, because I don't think I'm going to get as much cleared as I need to before I have to start grazing them in here. But I desperately need to get the exterior fences put back up, because this year, more than ever, I'm going to really need to move cows around and not have to constantly be spending time setting up fences, temporary fences every day or every couple days. So the more permanent fencing I can put up, the better it's going to be. All right, I got to open a gate into this pasture, and then I can park the tractor. I've got to spend the morning cutting brush for chipping. It was morning, no, it's almost 1 o'clock. I got to get as much cut so I can chip it and get a loaded chip or two, and then tomorrow I'm going to clean the barn. I'm seeing a few more dead trees. I'm seeing a few more down trees down here than I was counting on over the winter, so I got to deal with those as well. I know I'm a little stressed about that area over there. Just looking at a piece of white in the woods there. It's just birch bark where I don't see a birch trunk. Must be the top of that birch there. I know I'm stressed about that area not being as far along as I wanted to be, but I have to remind myself that all of this used to look the same as up there. And we regularly, as of last year, got 4 grazings out of this. It's not the 6 that I need, but that is better than the 3 the previous year, the 2 the year before, and the none before that. So this has only really been reclaimed since 2022, so 4 years. Now, it isn't as productive as I'd hoped by now, but it is still really productive, and it is an essential part of our grazing strategy. And certainly opening up this area right in front of me, I can't quite see the fine brush and the dense canopy of balsams there, but clear that, open that up. That gives us another 1/4 acre of grazing. Every little bit helps. Every bit starts to infill. And I can already see this year down here, there's more grass than there was last year. So that's due to the fertility that the cows put in, the action, my overseeding, all of those things.
Say the name.
That are regenerative grazing and regenerative farming, because we're adapting slowly. We're working with the land, with the seasons. We're not coming in here and saying, all right, we're going to clear cut this and till and plow the whole thing and de-stone it and plant a monocrop. We are saying we're going to accept some weird years. We're going to accept some change, but we're going to constantly monitor for improvement. And again, here's a tree that I left behind that has fallen over. I'm taking it out. I think this area here probably still needs to be thinned because the grass growth in this little section isn't tremendous. I think that's a large part because the forest is right there. And so southern exposure is just extra shaded here. But that little clump right there has started to infill with grass nicely. And not only that, it's growing the sort of grass we want. And so more importantly, that is a factor of a big change, because all through here, now here I was able to spread some manure through here. So there was a lot of clover that grew up. But a lot of this used to be bulrush, these rushes and wetland grasses. But now, and there's still quite a bit out there, that yellow tufted dark green stuff. Still a little pocket, but I would say 3/4 less than was here before. This was all solid. And now it's starting to infill with meadow fescues and tall fescue and orchard grass, as well as clover. So those things are beginning to be the things that make milk. And that this had all been cleared. There wasn't a tree here in the 50s. But by then there probably hadn't been a tree here since the 1770s. And so this has always been pasture in sort of modern recorded history. And so it has the capacity to be pasture again without dramatic changes, without deforesting anything, and while allowing trees to remain overhead to create some shade. So this area is getting better. In 4 years, that's great. All right, I gotta move some brush, so I need both hands. Now this is the sort of thing I find extremely hopeful down here. A couple of small dandelions. Now they're growing in here among all of this leaf litter and wetland grasses and this, I don't know what this grass is that isn't that productive, and then there's this ground cover. Now, as soon as the cows can come in here, those will start to green up like up there, and definitely like out there. I just got to cut all these whips out of here so the cows can get in here better. But the great thing about finding dandelion here is that it'll spread. Everyone thinks dandelion is this horrific weed, but it is actually a great bioaccumulator because it's got a deep taproot. And if you've ever seen or tried to get rid of a big dandelion plant, the taproot is huge, it's thicker than my thumb, and it can go down a couple feet. So those dandelion mine down the ground, break up soil compaction, pull in nutrients from below the soil and bring them up into the plant. So we're talking calcium, the micronutrients, and bring up that fertility from deep in the ground that's soaked in and then breaks down on top, or the cows eat it and then crap it out. So I like to see a high percentage, 20% of dandelion in some pastures, certainly grazing. It doesn't get too persistent, it never takes over, and it's plenty palatable. Again, like I said the other day, I'm giving some to the heifers. It's a diuretic, so it causes the cow to expel any extra moisture that is accumulated through edema. So it's a great tonic. It's got a lot of iron and nutrients in it. To have, I don't see any other dandelion plants than those two right there. But I am so happy to see those. And a lot of times I will go up coming here soon and take the dandelion seed heads when they blow into those powder puff balls. I'll collect them in a paper bag and bring them down here or places like this and start scattering them. Free source of seed, free source of fertility. And again, that hard work is being done by the plants, that breaking up of soil compaction, that mining of minerals. It's here, it's free for the taking. So happy to see it and going to make the best use of it possible. Now, as for the leaf litter, good and bad there. Good that it creates a carpet and a mass over the top of the soil to prevent erosion. It breaks down and provides nutrients because, again, tree roots pull up a lot of moisture, a lot of minerals, a lot of nutrients into the leaves. The leaves fall down, they break down on the floor, creating humus, right? So that's good for soil organic matter. However, the bad part is something is wrong here because there is so much of it on the surface. It isn't breaking down. So it means there's not enough biological activity here. The cows will provide that by shitting all over this place when they come down here. Their manure, the microbes will start breaking down this stuff, start creating the colony to help get rid of the leaf litter. So whenever there's a high amount of leaves in a place, there's something not happening, some biological process. They're not breaking down, they're staying dry, they're staying at the surface. They aren't forming that dense rotting mass like happens deep in the forest. Now in the forest, you kind of expect to see a lot of them. But a place where there's cows and activity, you do assume that there's going to be some level of biological absorption. So good that they're here covering the soil from erosion. not good yet until they actually break down and start creating more soil. I was clearing up these poplar saplings that grew up out of the stumps of small poplars, and I realized my search for garden poles is at an end. These will make perfect pea poles. So instead of chipping them today, I'm going to gather them up and haul them up to the dooryard. It is absolutely blowing a gale out here. I was just checking the fence line. I turned the cows out so I can clean the barn, and they are bawling because they know grass. They think they're going to get let out on grass, and I'm worried that they're going to go through the fence. But we're going to try it anyway. I've got to clean the barn. Hopefully, they don't go berserk like they did last time. Hell, I haven't gone through the fence yet. They've all bunched up at the grass. Throw up a stop line here. And another one, another safety. They are out there turning widdershins. It's gonna be interesting. Last time I sent them out, the SmaXtec system showed everybody being in heat from bulling. Yeah, Trixie's galloping around now. The rest of them are bunched up, eating whatever grass they can get their little mouths on. All right, Allison's due back any minute. I hope they don't accidentally just knock down the line. We'll never get them back. Okay. Yeah, Trixie, he's got everybody running. Second calf cow, I would have thought she was over that level of shenanigans. Being a mature, wise, elder bovine, I don't know. Anyway, Mabel, her mother's dashing around. All right. Yeah, their charts for activity are going to be off the chart, as it were. All right, let's get cleaning this barn.
Joy, darling, you're a brat.
Well, I'm back down here in the forest, chipping hopefully today. I would like to chip a bucket. I'm exhausted. I don't know why. It's about 2 o'clock today. It's Wednesday, May 6th. I'm finally down here in the forest lot. I do have to move the tractor back to the pile here. I've gotten a late start today. I've been to the feed store. We milked cows kind of late. Didn't sleep well last night. Maybe that's what's going on. Anyway. And the weather. Yesterday was gorgeous. I didn't get down here at all because I was cleaning the barn and we had a lot of customers and a lot of pickups, commercial pickups. We just had a commercial pickup today, just now, so that's why I was down here. I was also helping Allison troubleshoot the cream butter churn. So, oh crap, I forgot to check. There may be shavings at the tool factory to pick up, which means this is kind of moot at this point. But anyway, I need to pull together the last of the stuff that I cut the other day, get that there. I want to cut this tree up into chunks and get that bit that's hung up in the air dropped down, trim some stuff here, At the very least, if I just knock some more stuff down, get it ready to chip. I'd like to have enough ahead to chip now to get 2 buckets. Tomorrow maybe. I may have to use the neighbors wanted me to bring the tractor over to level out some gravel. But I think the tractor might be too big in their small space, so I'm going to see if there's a way I can get the skid steer over there to help them tomorrow. Tomorrow's Thursday. Allison will be off the farm making deliveries. I'll be milking twice, so it's better to have stuff up there to do, but I also know that it would be good. I'll need these chips tomorrow, so we'll see what I do, whether I chip some now and how that goes. It is cold and windy, and pretty much I don't want to. I'm down here looking around. I need to get this cleaned up. I am really, gonna be honest, I'm really stressing over what this summer's gonna be like. We are so late in grass growth and so late and according to Allison, she records the weather and makes notes about the farm and stuff every year. And she's saying last year we were in the same cold, hot, wet pattern going into the super wet May and then bone dry summer. So I'm really worried that that's what we're headed towards. And the later it gets, the wetter it is right now. We got more rain coming tonight, more rain through the weekend. The later it is, the wetter it gets. First cut is going to be our only cut. I don't know. Anyway, and then how to keep the cows eating and in good condition and producing the milk and having good calves. And what do we do? How do we feed everybody? It's just endless right now. And it didn't have to be this way. It absolutely did not have to be this way. We could all be, let's not get into it really. It's, the other thing, the black fly are coming out and it's early. And I know they come out usually, the black fly season here had sort of typically been Mother's Day to Father's Day. I've been seeing it creep a little earlier and go a little later the past few years, but they require running water, and I'm right down here near the stream. So black fly season is going to be brutal this year, I think. I already got one in my eye just now, and they're not really out yet. So that's the other worry this season, is the insects. Our first set of predatory wasps should be coming this week to start deploying to get ahead of the fly season. Flies could be really bad. I mean, I've got all this stacked manure around that I can't get rid of because I don't have a manure spreader because I didn't get a grant. We're working on that. We're working on solutions, but things around here move glacially. And that is another fear of mine. But anyway, the bugs, I'm worried that the insects this summer are going to be off the charts crazy because of the added heat and the added moisture. If we have the summer could equal chances are forecast for too wet or too dry. And they're both bad. And insects come with the too wet. So it's going to be crazy. Anyway, I'm going to make these stacks up, get this stuff stacked, and see whether I can get something chipped and just how it goes. It's almost 2 o'clock. I've got till about 3:30, and then I'll be back up in the farmyard. Joy's feeling a little poorly today, so I got her in a headstock before we milk her and give her some medicine. Not sure what's wrong with her, but we're going to give her some anti-inflammatories and hope that does something to give us an idea what's going on with her. Well, I wish I could have shown you. I should have put something over there, but she took her medicine like a good girl. This is a balling gun, so it just holds the medicine in there and goes down her throat enough that I can slide the pistol part in and pop them in nice and easy. They swallow the tube like it's nothing, and she's happy. Then you get milk, and hopefully this makes her better.